Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Marcana. I'm your host, Doug Leaf. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting... As video games go, Shadow of the Colossus, as its name suggests, casts a colossal shadow. In the ongoing argument of are video games art, Shadow of the Colossus is usually cited as Exhibit A in favor. And I'm very glad we're going to be talking about this because this is a landmark masterpiece, if ever there was one. And I've secretly had this on the short list, hoping someone would come along to pick it. So I'm very glad that I'm finally getting an opportunity to go in deep on one of the single greatest games ever made. And to help me do it, I have two guests here with me. I've had the pleasure of podcasting over on their show, Tabletop Hot Takes, recently. And I'm bringing them here to you for the first time. Please welcome Professor Funky and Aria. Welcome, both of you. Hello.
Hi. Good to be here.
Yeah, hot damn! I'm happy that we were able to give you your one true dream.
Like I said, it's most people are picking, they're picking bands or TV shows or movies and stuff. Every once in a while, I get someone who picks a video game, but because of the nature of this podcast being kind of like nostalgia based, it's usually things older than this. And this is a game from 2005. Usually, the guests are like, "Remember Donkey Kong?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I'm old enough." Sure. I remember the original Donkey Kong. But yeah, so
we are young and spry.
Oh, you speak for yourself. My first OS was Windows 3.1, so yeah.
Okay, same. I'm not, okay, let's be real. 35 is young and spry now.
Listen, again, I'm probably the only one of you who's had to monkey around with DOS, so,
Oh, no. I got angry.
With DOS, but only as an exercise.
I got angry when they got rid of the MS-DOS emulator in 95, or jumping up from 95. So yeah.
Yeah, fair.
I still use that shit. So.
Well, now that you've established our old man bona fides, as we yell at clouds and so forth, let's talk about Shadow of the Colossus. I'll turn it over to you, Aria, first. Tell me, why was this a topic that you were interested in covering today? Like, tell me your background with it.
So, this is a weird game for me. So, it's funny because it's not a particularly long game, but it's a game that I have a specific time and place associated with, and most games just kind of blend into a haze of like this is something that I played as a nebulous thing of kid. I mean, like, trauma-based memory loss will do that to you. That said, what I've got is I actually got this, I rented this from my local Hollywood Video, and then we brought it along on a trip that I made up to Colorado Springs from Texas, where I was living. So, I have this specific trip thing, and it was a fantastic trip game. One, it was short enough to where I could beat it during that I forget how long I was down there, 5 days, maybe a week, sort of thing. And then like I could also share the thing, and there was time for me to sit there and digest and reflect, and it was a nice, slightly less stressful time in my young life. And yeah, there's a and then there was like, oh, okay, cool. This is the first time I've seen snow in recent memory. Oh, okay, cool. There's these other things too. So yeah, this was a winter trip, and like the best we got in Texas was tiny little bits of frost. And I have very hazy memories from when I was a very small child. So, yeah.
And what was it about the game that like spoke to you?
Oh, okay. So the actual game itself, right? It's a masterclass in showing, not telling, right? Like
Yes.
you can put the entire like almost all of the dialogue and actual like concrete lore and stuff like that on like a maybe 4 pages front and back, right? Like for the entire thing, right? It's just a here you go, here's a quest, you're doing this thing, and that's it. Very rarely are games like as straightforward as that, and as I guess I want to say dynamic in terms of like how the actual puzzle of the Colossuses are solved. And it definitely felt like a world of like it felt like you were exploring a world which was like deeply unsettling and getting quieter and quieter through your own actions. And that's something that you very rarely see in a game, and that was like that vibe was haunting. Plus, I had played Eco before, and because I'm a huge weeb, and I'm like, all right, cool, I understand why this is a game designer's favorite game. But Shadow of the Colossus is like okay, cool. Here you go. Just a boy and his horse and a quest from God. Or Satan, who knows?
Yeah. We'll get into all of like the ins and outs because again, as you sort of mentioned, like the story here is deceptively sparse. That's kind of one of the triumphs of it. Because this whole thing is just a masterclass in minimalism and restraint, although punctuated by extraordinary maximalism when we get to the colossi themselves. But like so much of this game is about, what's not there and, holding back on things where, normal video game logic is like, it's fucking Borderlands and it's just like bright colors and loud voices and things going boom. And like, this is none of that, it's all like, the maturity here on display and like the artistry is just on another level. But let me turn it over to Professor Funky because we haven't gotten to you yet. I want to hear your background with Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, I also played Eco as a child and did not get it, was bad at it, did not get past the first few chambers because I was a child and bad at video games. And then this game came along and I was like, wait, this is the same guys. Oh, I should play that game. And it broke me in the best way possible. um I was also a budding pagan at the time. Was first exploring my spirituality and my religion outside of that I was born into. And this game made me appreciate the sound of silence in a way that I hadn't really understood before. You get on a horse and you ride through the wilderness and there is not, but perhaps sometimes the wind until it is time to get down and dirty. And there was just this constant feeling of loneliness and of melancholy that an 11-year-old was feeling in, well, I guess, oh god, I was older than that. I don't know, not the point. Young enough, right, that it was truly an impression that changed who I am, what I am, and made me part of who I am today. It very much defined an early paradigm of my life. um, was just being alone and then getting to this big 60 something feet tall thing and going, oh shit, what the fuck am I supposed to do now?
And then that moment of, oh, this is my problem now.
Right. Yes. 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 And I kept trying to shoot arrows at them and it didn't work.
Yeah, let me just kind of give you my initial impressions with it when I first get around to it. So I had a friend who had Eco. That is, for people who don't know, that is the previous game made by this developer or this director, Fumito Ueda, and it shares some aesthetic similarities and other tenuous connections to Shadow of the Colossus. So I had seen that, and I had it was at a friend's house, and it was kind of interesting. And then he got Shadow of the Colossus, and again, I only saw snippets of the game, and I didn't really get a full sense of what it was. And over time, like, its reputation for being this masterwork grew and grew, and I was like, well, one of these days I'm gonna get around to it, because I didn't have a PS2. And then it was re-released or remastered for the PS3. So I immediately went out and got that. I'm like, well, finally, I'm going to be able to get my hands on it. And I was absolutely blown away. And in fact, it had this function. I was one of the few people that I could do this, because I was one of those weirdos with a 3D TV in like the late aughts. So you could play Shadow of the Colossus in like full 3D, which pretty awesome if you've never done that.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I was a PS2 one, so yeah, they definitely didn't have that feature.
Yeah, it was neat.
No.
It was really cool. But for setting that aside, the like, because again, we'll have sections of this podcast where we talk about like the aesthetics and how the gameplay and how it works. Is if you've never played this, we're kind of dancing around a lot of what makes this thing what it is. And just like you guys, I mean, the takeaway here of just the restraint and this approach that I had never seen in a game, to basically do a game where there was so much emptiness. But not just that there was all this emptiness, right? It was all to a purpose. And what really makes this thing go is the tone, which is everything in this game, not just the aesthetics, the music, it's the play, it's the world they put you in. Everything is to a purpose of getting you to an emotional place that Ueda wants to take you to. Largely, again, driven by this sense of isolation and grandeur and dread, as you go through what on the surface might be one of the most video gamey setups in the history of video games, to then subvert that as you go through. I was like, well, this thing has this reputation and it's earned. It's like when you watch Citizen Kane for the first time, you just kind of go like, oh yes, that thing is on like at the top of every critic's list of the best movies ever made, because it's very fucking good. Like turns out
it was the good thing was actually
surprise.
good.
Yeah, the thing everybody said was awesome is awesome. Yeah.
No, but I get that. I'm also pretty dang cynical, right? Like, so whenever something that people say is good is actually good, I'm always a little bit like, I'm sometimes a little bit miffed at it. Right?
You want to be the iconoclast. It's like, yeah, whatever. It can't be that good. And you're like, oh, no, I'm a fucking moron. I've been denying myself the joy of experiencing this thing because I was being snarky. You know, like, no, actually, the fact that it's like universal acclaim is sometimes that way for a reason. But let's get into this game and talk about kind of what this thing actually is. So we'll start with kind of the setting and the premise. So you play as Wander, that's your character's name, a young man who brings this deceased young woman named Mono into the Forbidden Lands, this huge expanse that you play the game in, this world of kind of empty deserts and ancient ruins. You bring her into this temple, and you are greeted by the voice of a deity called Dorman, who gives you your assignment to bring this girl back to life. You must slay the 16 colossi that wander this land. And you have a magic sword to guide you and help you in that effort. And that's basically where you're set off on your quest. And like I said, incredibly video gamey setup. Kill the monsters, save the princess, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I would actually compare this to Zelda 1, the top-down one. Like, yeah. And it's also got, like, a lot of similar things in that Zelda 1 is also a game of all action, almost no stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just explore the space, find the things, kill the things. If you don't kill the things, they're going to kill you. Moving on.
The parallels are there, I will say.
Oh, I think they definitely want you to think about The Legend of Zelda, in all of its incarnations. And again, in a lot of the ways that they're going like, this is not, an adventure with Link and Zelda. This is a different thing. But the setup, of course, is like, okay, yeah, right. Kill the monsters, bring the princess back to life. Got it. It doesn't get more video gamey than that. And it's a great way to start this off because, this setting of the Forbidden Lands, this is kind of a gameplay thing we'll get to later, but the most notable thing about it is there's fucking nothing in it. It is, when you're playing Legend of Zelda and you're running across Hyrule Field, every 15 seconds, there's a monster in your face that you have to kill. There's an objective, a side quest you have to do. Games are usually constantly, going like, hey, have you had any dopamine lately? Here's a thing you need to do. We want to keep you busy. You paid your money for this. Come on, quest markers and, bells and whistles. And here you will spend 5 minutes just wandering a landscape, doing no combat. It's just you, like you said, it's you in the wind and this, this kind of empty, desolate world.
Yeah, I want to point out that, like, if I recall correctly, there's not a fast travel system or anything like that.
Nope.
So the travel times are very interesting from that emotional perspective, like you were saying earlier, because they give you that time to reflect on things that have happened, things you have literally done.
Yeah, there's no fast travel and there's no smart travel. So you can't just set the horse and forget about it. You have to direct him, because it's not just a straight path. Oh, I go east, I'm going to end up in Colossus number 6's field. You're going to have to usually, work through some sort of movement of some kind, right? Oh, let me go down into the ravine or whatever. And, so you have to, you can't just set it and forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is also a thing of because this was it was either contemporaneous or slightly predated, like one of the first Assassin's Creed games, and then the collectathon Ubisoft style of game that spawned from that and that success. And here there's not collectibles, there's not video gamey stuff that you're looking at.
There's a few, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, but
I didn't even know they existed until I replayed it, though. I never did
You could easily miss that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I never did a single lizard or a single fruit until the remake. And only because online I remember reading about it and being like, wait, what? That's a thing?
But I also did not do that because, I was singular in my focus and I had and I had these tasks. But at the same time, that what I'm trying to say is it ran counter to the video game. Get the rupees, get the bombs, get the arrows, collect. You want a bigger inventory, don't you? It's you're, and that's what I think is the more interesting conversation to be had there. So
Yeah, and again, just I mean, again, we'll talk about graphics later, but the aesthetically, what this place looks like, uh, roughly sort of like imagine kind of a combo between like ancient Greek ruins and maybe like something more Eastern, like Angkor Wat, kind of an aesthetic, Cambodian
Oh
ruins.
yeah.
Um, but the color palette is very washed out. Um, think about like I don't know any scene in Gladiator where Russell Crowe is wandering through a wheat field. It's a little like that. There's this sense of like not only emptiness, but like there's not colors that pop really, except for like very select points in the game. There's color. There's some greenery, like there's plant life and stuff, and there's
Mm-hmm.
water. But by and large, this is a very um, I think drab kind of makes it sound like it's bad. It's not drab in the sense that it's like
It's natural colors.
The word that comes to mind for me is it's stark.
yeah.
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 Yeah. And it's natural colors, right? It's dark brown to mid green. That's it. Right? You've got all your browns, you've got your dark greens to your mid greens, but kind of your light greens once you like zoom in on some of the like grass on some things, but that's really about it. And then there's a couple points of blue, there's a couple points of white, and there you go.
But also there's stuff like the contrast of the sun on the cliff face and the shadows. Like
Yes.
it's
It plays with light.
there's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
the weather. It's like overcast with kind of what they call God rays of the sun coming through. Mostly is what you're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a. It's interesting. It's desolate, but beautiful in its own way, and I think that's an important key here. Is that like this place is foreboding, it's forbidden, but it's not entirely like evil. There's something kind of quietly serene about all of it too. Again, like that setting and that premise to just wander through this world and experience that, you really have to like soak it all in, because as you said, like there's nothing else to do but soak it in as you make your way through. And of course, Ueda wants you to do that.
Yeah.
I have a slight tangent, which is I feel like worthwhile here.
Mhm.
So one time, me and a good friend of mine went backpacking in the Canyonlands National Park in Utah near Moab, and that little bit of the high desert, and also being the only people there for miles around. that's that's the feeling that this invokes. Like even aesthetically, like the moon was bright enough to where like in a pinch we could hike by it. It was but it was that same sort of like extremely heavy contrast. Your eyes could play tricks on you if you aren't looking too close, sort of thing. So
Yeah, you know what I was thinking of? I'm from Southern California, and so not uncommon for us to decide, hey, let's go to Vegas, and that trek up the 15 from Southern California to Vegas, once you get beyond a certain point, it's very desolate. And you can see like, well, I'm on this road with other humans, but in my mind's eye, if I were to go like, I don't know, 10 miles off towards that direction, I would be in a landscape like that too, like just nothing. What would it be like to just me and a horse, slowly making my way through that? That's the kind of feeling you get. It's a little spooky.
right.
Spooky's a great word.
Indeed. All right, so let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. What it actually feels like to play Shadow of the Colossus. So the gameplay is kind of divided into different modes. The first one, as we've already kind of talked about, is exploration. So you are given your quest from Dorman, tells you to go slay a Colossus. You have your magic sword, which you can hold up in any area where there's sunlight. You could hold up your sword and a beam of light will come out of it. And you can, by moving it around, it'll kind of come into focus and let you know, oh, the Colossus I need to fight is in this direction. It's basically a compass. But like a compass, it only points in a straight line exactly towards where you're going. And most likely it is not a straight line to get there. If you try to go in a straight line, you'll encounter a cliff face or something, and you'll realize like, oh, I can get there, but it's going to take a lot of exploration and observation to figure out how do I work my way around this landscape to get to where I ultimately need to go. And so you'll be doing that with the help of your horse, Aggro, as Wander says.
I did not realize what his name was until I read articles about this game. I thought it was just like a shout, like, come here, boy!
Well, the characters, as we'll talk about it a little later, but the language that's spoken in this game, the dialogue is a made-up language, so you could be forgiven for not knowing what he's saying. But yeah, he's saying,
yes.
Agro.
Yeah, it's not until you beat the game that it translates it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you can get translations for some of these things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, Aggro is interesting because, like, you can summon him from anywhere. You whistle for him and he comes running for you. You ride him around. But this is a thing that Ueda is kind of interested in, is having an AI companion that behaves a little more realistically by kind of fucking up to some degree. Yep. So like,
that's all of his games. Yes. Literally all of them.
It's an interesting idea that like they said that we want to make this feel like a real horse. So he's not 100% responsive to your commands. Like most of the time, yes, he's not a burden, but it adds just enough like resistance of like, oh, that's not quite what I wanted him to do. It feels very real. Like you're riding a real horse.
Have either of you ridden horses?
I have.
Yes.
Not a lot, but I've done it.
Yeah. Same thing. And like, yeah, we can all say from experience that like, yes, that's absolutely a thing that a horse does.
The only time I ever got on a horse, I got kicked off and got a concussion. So yes, correct.
I did not have that experience, but no. I've ridden quite a bit. Or not quite. It's been a hot second, but yeah.
Yeah, he has a will of his own. Like he feels like a real thing. So in Eco, it's Yorda. It's a little girl who's, mm-hmm. not 100% perfect in terms of doing what you want her to do. And then the follow-up game to this, The Last Guardian, is all about that. You have basically what's a giant AI like cat dog pet thing that you're trying to command around like it's a dog. And because it is not 100% like responsive, like, holy shit, it feels real. Like, yeah, okay, it didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. Let me try it again. And Aggro is right in the middle.
I yelled at that thing so much.
What'd you say?
I yelled at that thing so much in The Last Guardian. Multiple times. I got more upset at that game than any other video game I've ever played. Because it was like a puppy. Where you're just like, just do the thing! I taught you to do the thing. You know how to heal.
He gets better as you go through the game too. That's a subtle thing. It gets yes. more responsive as you go. It's smart. But Aggro's right in the middle. Like it's mostly responsive. Like, and Ueda talked about this, that like they had to be very careful how they tuned this so that it would give you that realistic feeling without becoming an obstacle. But that's basically traversal. You're riding around on an exploration, and then there's climbing. You spend a lot of time in this game climbing, both during the boss fights and in exploration. You'll find like grass covered stuff that you will grip, and grip is important. You actually have a grip meter. You have stamina, so you can climb things, but you can't just hang there forever. Eventually, your arms will get tired and you'll fall. So you have to mind this slowly decreasing stamina as you go.
Yeah, and there's a move that you can do to like hunker down if something is trying to shake you off, which is great because if you don't do that or don't have the stamina to, You're flying off at Mach fuck as,
Yeah,
as whatever you're trying to climb shakes you off.
yeah,
Gee, I wonder what that could
yeah,
be.
and fall 150 feet to the ground.
Yeah, and actually, as you mentioned, that so there are upgrades. So even though the game does not have a lot of like collect the things and fight the things, as you're wandering around, if you see a lizard running around, you can cut off its tail, or if you find a piece of fruit in a tree, you can shoot it down with your bow and arrow. And though eating those will increase your maximum health and your grip strength, so you can hold on for longer. So it is worthwhile doing that when you come across them. It's hard. It's one of those things you just have to be really observant or use a guide. You're not meant to like just scour the wasteland looking for these things because that will take you a very long time to do. It's just if you run across them, Yahtzee. But otherwise, yeah, it's just
Yeah,
it's there.
Yeah, and also the game is totally beatable without any of those
yeah,
upgrades. It's just that some of those fights are extremely
Yep.
difficult.
yeah, yeah. The underwater one, which obviously we'll get to later, like is extremely difficult if you have not boosted your grip strength. I can remember that one as a kid, just throwing my head against a wall. Like I don't understand. I don't understand. Why is this so hard? Why can't I just do this thing like that? You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turns out if you just go looking for the weird stuff and interact with the weird stuff that you see in the game, and you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. I wonder if you can do anything with that. Probably.
Yep. There's not much else to interact with in the world outside of the Colossi, which I'm going to say for last, which is there are save points at various spots, these shrines that you can find. There's your
Hmm.
map that is slowly, there's a beautiful map. I love how they do this. And it's slowly
Yeah.
revealed as you make your way. It's like, it looks like there's clouds on the map. And then when you get there, the clouds disappear to show you the way. It's still not like a perfect map though, because it's like, you could not totally rely on it for exploration because it's abstracted and like hand drawn. So it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a map drawn by a person and not like a scaled up picture of a world that some people do.
Yeah.
Right.
Like most of the things in this game, it's helpful, but not like all. Nothing ever gets you all the way. You have to do the rest yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and then in there was a remake done in 2018 for the PS4. They did a ground up remake, which if you're gonna play it now, that's the way to play it, and it is
Yes.
gorgeous. But one thing they added was one other kind of collectible, which are these coins that are all around, and if you collect all 50 of them across the world, I think you can get like a different looking sword. Like it's a very minor thing, but there's a secret little
Incredibly.
shrine. But they wanted to add something, so they couldn't add a lot because again, adding a bunch to this takes away from the minimalism. So, but this is one little
Yeah.
flourish they put in there. So now let's talk about fighting a Colossus.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Quite possibly I would say like the inspiration for the desire of every like person today to climb on a big beast and hit it with stuff. Uh, and B also like the inspiration for so many different games after this. Like I can't tell you how many games have clearly taken influence from Shadow of the Colossus. And once you play it, you're gonna go, oh wow, here's this thing and that game and this influence and that thing. And it's like, oh, it's all right there. It's right here.
Yeah. So what happens is, of course, you follow your trail here, your sword of light, to some arena where this Colossus you've been told about is. You can't just do them in any order, by the way. They get Dorman
Hmm.
tells you this is the next one. If you try to go to like the arena where one of them will be out of order, nothing happens. You have to do them in order.
Yep.
And but you get there. So we'll talk about like the first one, right? You go It's easy to get to. You walk in this arena, and when we say Colossus, they're varying sizes, but on average, they're 10 stories tall or something. They're usually quite large.
Valis, the first one, is 22 meters tall. So right around 66 feet, something like that. 72 feet, 72 feet.
It makes quite an impression when you walk in and this thing stomps by. And so that then the gameplay is, of course, you need to find a way to clamber onto the Colossus, find its weak points, and then you stab the weak points with your sword until its health goes down to 0 and it dies. That's the gameplay of it. But it's each of them presents kind of a unique gameplay or puzzle challenge as to how to do that, which we'll save for when we kind of go through the game, kind of sequentially. But like, this is the thing that makes this game. It's the empty exploration punctuated by, like I said, like you go from minimalism to maximalism in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember facing Valis for the first time, and like I got so confused. A, because I just really wanted to shoot it with a bow. I was just like, nope, this is terrifying. I've died twice already. Uh, and I just really want to shoot it. And you can shoot them, but the bow will do progressively less and less damage. And you can only do like I think like 8%, less than 10% of a total health of any Colossus with the bow. Um, and so like it is a thing where like, oh, you do have to eventually figure out, oh, I'm supposed to climb on this thing, right? And then obviously you have to figure out how to do that. And I was convinced for a very long time that I was supposed to get up on his hand, which doesn't really work. And then you kind of figure out, like through trial and error, basically, like, oh, I climb on the back of foot, and then I can climb up its back, and you get onto the head, and you stab it in the head, and it goes from there. But it is very much a trial of error thing, especially with the first couple, because you're just figuring out what your options are, you know.
Yeah, and it's extremely kinetic problem solving, and that there's like in that if you mess something up and your approach doesn't work, you find out immediately because you're punished for it in a lot of cases. And there's also pretty decent broadcasting on like what parts of a Colossus you could probably climb on versus what parts don't. But then it goes like, okay, cool, I need to get there. How the hell do I get the height or distance or whatever I need? So yeah.
Right. So, like, for example, in the case of the first one, there's a weak point on its calf, and
Mm-hmm.
if once you hit the weak point, it kind of kneels down. When it's in that position, that's what enables you to clamber up to the top of it, where the main weak point is, and stab that until you win. They're all, I mean, and again, that's the very first one. They get more esoteric in some ways or difficult. But what's never goes away is again, the sense of awe and scale, because when you see something like that, you're so used to video games like, well, I'm going to go in, I'm going to whack it with my sword, I'm going to do whatever, right. And, throw a bomb at it or whatever I've got. And this thing, it's like, it's the size of a fucking building. What am I supposed to do? It,
I will say also there's not like a health bar that shows up at the bottom like it's a Dark Souls boss or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a yeah, like you can tell through like the sounds it's making, how it's moving, how brightly sometimes a mark is glowing sort of thing. But very rarely do you get like you are receiving feedback, but it's not through a non-diegetic way like a health bar.
Yeah, I think the diegetic nature of it is, they're going for as organic and living as possible with the way these things present, to the extent that when for I think the vast majority of them, maybe there's like one or two that are an exception to this, but when you go into their arenas, you approach them, they're docile or they're at least non-hostile, right? They
Yes.
barely notice you. They're so big, you're so small, they don't care that you're there. Right. It's only when you start attacking them that they start doing anything to really rebuff you. They also have, and put a pin in that for later, but when you get up to them, a lot of them, they'll have blue eyes. Another gameplay thing is occasionally if their eyes will glow red or orange when you've got their attention or now they're angry, that'll kind of let you know, okay, I can if like I said, maybe I need to kite this one around. I need him to look at me to kind of get him over somewhere. I'll fire an arrow at him until he wakes up and kind of notices me, because otherwise firing arrows at them, as you said, is like, that's kind of all the arrows are for the most part, is just getting their attention. They don't do much else.
Yeah, I believe there's one. So there's a few that you have to shoot, but I believe there's only one where shooting it does anything, or you can hit a weak point with the bow. Um,
I think it was the burrowing one, if I remember correctly.
uh,
You had to shoot it, then it flipped up.
yeah, there's a few you have to shoot to like get them to do stuff. So like the first bird, which obviously we'll get to, but the first bird you have to shoot to get its attention, or it literally just flies up in the air. It straight ignores you. And there's really only, I think, 4 or 5 that will actively pursue you before you hurt them, and those are terrifying. The first one is one of the minotaurs, and you wander into its area, it bursts through a wall and just starts charging at you, and it is just this oh shit oh fuck moment, because this has never happened before. And there's a few of those where it's like, oh, this has never happened, right? Like this I have to learn and grasp really fast.
Yeah, the theatricality of this stuff is really powerful. And again, because they keep changing it up on you. These colossi don't repeat. It's not like you fight or are not similar in any way. Each one is a very unique challenge, and sometimes like the smaller ones are the scarier ones. Like there's some, we talked about one that's like you said, 66 meters tall or whatever, or something like that.
22 meters, about
22
72
meters.
feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's towards the larger end of them. Some are even much bigger than that. There's also some
That's
that
actually
maybe,
one of the smaller ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's some that are, though. There's like, I'm thinking of one that's like the size of like a van. Like it's bigger than you, but it's not towering over the sky, large. But those can be scarier because those are going to be faster and in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. Celosia and Cenobia are the smallest, and they are 4 meters high. So somewhere in like 14 to 15 feet tall, certainly still big, but compared
Do
to,
not want to get hit by that.
right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But compared to the biggest, which is 200 meters long, like that's just insane.
Yep. And amazingly, that's kind of all there is to the gameplay. It's just, wander the wasteland, find one of these things, kill it. Incredibly simple, always satisfying, because again, it feels like you are surmounting this impossible challenge to take down one of these things. So, but that's kind of it for like the technical gameplay side of it. Let's move on to talk about the graphics. We've already talked about kind of the color palette and the aesthetics of it generally, but there's a lot of ways in which the graphics here, both in the going all the way back to the original and up through the 2018 redo, they all capture this same sense of like not only the color palette and the drabness of this world, but like the subtle ways in which what you're seeing plays into the overall themes and story.
Yeah, there's this feeling that, they call it the Forbidden Lands in like that opening cutscene. And there is a feeling that like this is somewhere, something used to live here, right? There is architecture, there is buildings, they're all dilapidated, they're all ruined. Most have like lichen and stuff like that. Like, but it is clear that this was built. Like, this is not a cave. This is a thing that someone assembled stone to make this structure. And they're usually very large. But also, they're something that was here. Who, when, how, why? Uh, but that's the whole point is I don't know. And you don't know, and you never will, because the point is to not know.
Right. The game is not interested in exploring that. It's not part of the story that they actually care about telling, which is, the wanderer who you're playing as fighting these things, right? But yeah, these mega structures, like, you can imagine the civilization that could have built that and understand why they were built, but it's all speculation.
Hmm.
There's nobody to give you lore information on this. There's no one to talk to in the entire game. That is something that I want to drive home. This is a game that doesn't have non-playable characters aside from your horse,
Yeah.
who is not the most talkative person. So,
I'm reminded of the Percy Bysshe Shelley poem Ozymandias, right? Look on my works, ye mighty, in despair, right?
Yep.
It's you are what the important takeaway from this visual thing is that, like, this really is the Forbidden Lands, because whatever civilization was powerful enough to build all this, how come they're not here anymore? That's the question you're never going to get an answer to, but the existence of that question is there to make you uncomfortable, to say, like, yeah, something went very, very wrong here, and I'm trespassing on this cursed place, and maybe I shouldn't be. That's one of those things that, like, again, this splendid isolation kind of gives you, as you're making your way through this, of going, like, it's again, beautiful, but, like, threatening. There's also something else that happened. We should talk about the aesthetics of the colossi themselves, which is a great, like, they're not just like beasts exactly. They're kind of amalgamations of, like, animalistic features and
Hmm.
stonework, and they have hair, but it could also just as well be like moss. That so some of them vaguely resemble things you recognize. So you mentioned, like, a minotaur. It has kind of that shape. There's one that is kind of
Yep.
equine. They've, but not directly.
Right. They're all named things. Like they have real names, like Valus and Gaius and Avion and Barba, but they're also named, kind of what they are. So, like the first one, Valus, is called the Minotaur, but he's also called Minotaurus Colossus. By the way, these are not diegetic names. These are names that the creating company made, but are not in the game
No,
at
they
all.
they they're not named. It might as well just be Colossus 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
Yes. Yeah, but like the second one is the mammoth. And he does look very elephantine, but like there's no tusk. There's no
Trunk.
um trunk. Yeah, no, like he doesn't even have really a tail. He's just a very large four-legged, could just as much be a hippo as as an elephant, right? Or like the third one is the knight, Gaius, and like okay, yeah, it's a big dude with a sword. Of course he's called the knight.
but that's also, like, ridiculously anthropomorphizing this Colossus, right?
Right.
Like, we see the big dude with the sword and we think knight, but, like, that there's no explanation on why these colossi exist, like, who created them. Are they golems? Are they natural things, right? Like, it really gives a sense that this is a name that has been given to the thing and not this is the creature's name.
Yeah, as you
Right.
said, we never find out what they're called in the game. That's all stuff from outside material that technically doesn't count. But as I think, Aria, what you said is really astute, which is, like, you're supposed to again have that sense of, like, well, I know it's a big video games collection of pixels I'm supposed to kill, but what is it supposed to be? Is it a creature? Is it something that's been brought to life magically? Is it a god? What is it? We'll kind of find out what they are through the course of the game, and that's part of the mystery of, like, what are these creatures, and okay, I've been told to kill all of them. Why? Why is that
Right.
necessary for what, again, Dorman says, kill all 16 of them so we can bring Mono back to life. But he never says that's necessary in order to do that. we don't know why this is part of the process. Is it a ritual? Is it, what is it? Again, we'll save all that for the plot discussion, but just in terms of just the graphics of like looking at them, they are confounding in that way. Like you can't just make obvious sense of like, oh, I know what I'm looking at.
That's a bird. Nope.
Right. And then the last thing we kind of need to talk about in terms of aesthetics is Wander himself, because he degrades over the course of the quest. He looks normal,
Yep.
and after killing a few of these things, he starts to look a little worse and a little worse and a little worse towards the end of the game. And it's a great signal again, teasing stuff from the plot, but like, should I be doing this? The game is, constantly hitting you in the face with like, you probably shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I always got the feeling of like, oh, I'm doing a bad thing. I'm the bad guy, but I don't have a choice other than to just not play. So
There's also there's also the benign interpretation that you start to like, that you can maybe have at first of like wow, look at this person. He's been going through a lot, huh? Like those last couple fights took it out of him. He got flung around. He got through that. Like this is and it's neat to see the protagonist banged up after a thing like that, and then as it continues, as his skin becomes more sallow and pale, like then it's like these are costs being paid.
Yeah.
And also, I do want to say that after every Colossus fight, I believe it takes you back to that starting temple surrounded by one additional like shadow creature thing. And it becomes like okay, it always hints at something going on. Like you said, these visual clues and storytelling are helpful, but they never give you the whole picture. You have to do the work yourself.
Yeah, and it won't all come together until the very end. And as you said, Professor, your only other choice is just to turn the game off and walk away. So this is it. You're along for this ride. But it's great. Like, it's so rare to have a game basically tell you like, this is your quest, and the more you pursue it, you should not do this at all, even though you don't have a choice. That's a great way to play with a game where literally the code says you have no choice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to, anytime we have a thing of like this, the thing that comes to mind is Spec Ops: The Line, which is a very different game.
Just a little.
Okay.
But I know where you're going. Keep going. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I'll elucidate on that a little bit. So in Spec Ops: The Line, you have like this progression of things like that, right? And it goes up to like, you committed a war crime by pressing a button. Do you think it was as easy for the Americans using their drones to do that? Like, why did you do the thing you just did, right? But it immediately turns the camera back to the player. This game doesn't do that as much. It doesn't like directly force you to reflect on the actions that you take into the game. That is instead something that it pushes you to do. It encourages you to do through all of this visual storytelling that it's doing. But it's never going to be as interrogative and that as Spec Ops: The Line was. So
yeah, and again, Spec Ops: The Line, like, again, this is a military kind of oorah game, but it actually makes you, unlike say a Call of Duty or whatever, it makes you actually question the morals of pushing buttons to kill people.
Right.
That, and this is in that same vein. Again, it's making you question, like, should I be doing this? Am I actually doing something bad? But you're always taken back to the temple where Mono is, and you go like, but this woman, whoever she is, like, I have to save her. What choice do I have? Right.
Right.
So yeah, let's talk about the sound and the music a little bit. The music for this game was composed by Koh Ohtani. I may be mispronouncing that. Doing my best here.
Oh no, that's correct. Yeah,
But okay.
I actually have listened to a number of his stuff. He actually has made music for a number of different games, but also has a solo career. And yeah, Cow is the proper pronunciation.
Yeah, of course you're hearing this score throughout this episode. It's beautiful. Maybe that opening piece is one of my favorite tracks in all of video games. Period. It is haunting and just spectacular. But the music throughout the game is all very good, and it's interesting because, as you mentioned, most of the time you don't hear any music as you're wandering these fields. Yet again, layering in that theme of like you're isolated, right? Because a normal game would probably be having some kind of heroic fanfare constantly as you march across the land slaying monsters. But here you don't get any music until for the most part you enter into the arena of a Colossus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there's a unique track for, you haven't yet started fighting them, and then there's a unique track for, oh, now we're in it, this is a fight.
And I also think that that absence of music, that absence of underscoring, like definitely is doing that same thing of encouraging you to reflect, right? You can play this as a singular point-to-point thing, right? Like just speed running this essentially. I'm like, all right, cool. No, I'm not going to think about this stuff at all. I'm just going to treat this as a checklist and do this. But that's not what, like, by its very design, the game discourages you from doing that through all of these little touches. So
yeah, and as you said, Professor, the music is dynamic when it kicks in. It's really cool. So like, yeah, you enter the realm of a Colossus, and the music is tentative, but still a little foreboding of like, we're where we're not supposed to be. And then when you actually are climbing up the side of this thing, the music is bombastic. But if you manage to, so you either get tossed from the Colossus, you get down from it in some way, and you back off, the music will dynamically go back to the like less intense mode. Again, just it really feels like there's an orchestra like scoring this for you in a way that would become, I think, way more ubiquitous in games as they got better at this. Because lots of games do this too now, where it's like, okay, we're not in fight mode yet, but when the fight kicks in, the music has to be ready to go because the game doesn't know exactly what you're going to do and when. It has to adapt to you. And this is one of the first games I can remember doing that really well.
The other thing I want to point out is that there is like if I remember this correctly, frankly, I don't own a PS2 any longer, so I couldn't replay it even if I wanted to. I might still have the disc around, but whenever they are doing the sword hit, right? Whenever the actual stab is happening, like I remember there being like an orchestral hit whenever that happens. It's a big, meaty, like I use the word visceral for a reason. There's like a sound that goes on whenever you actually plunge your sword into this thing. So
yeah, there's an orchestral sting.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
You're good.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, like I think the sound design and voice acting are also really good. Like for the most part, sound design, there isn't a lot of it. It's, you and the wind and like maybe the water lapping at, the shore or something. Grunts from Wander. The Colossi don't really make sounds. They stomp around and you can feel the weight of like, oh yeah, here's this, skyscraper size thing. Its footsteps are going to be big and loud, and it works. All of that works really well. But I think, especially considering the voice acting is in a made up language, it's really good. The little of it that we get from Wander, from this character Eamon, who we haven't talked about yet. And then Dorman's voice is really interesting.
It's not ours, Amazon. Alu Diklik, if the least to is.
放送の伊豆を言うな。エヴァかオール伊豆
Aurora.
Yeah, they cranked that reverb to the nth degree. And if you were playing this back in the day and you were on, a CRT TV on a PS2, there was nothing. You just heard a vague like, and that's really about it, man. It was great. It was unintelligible, which was perfect.
Yeah, uh Dorman is what I love that they do here. So they have two actors. You have a male voice and a female voice talking simultaneously with a lot of reverb that it gives you this very disorienting feel, because normally if two people are talking, your brain's kind of trying to go like, well, which one should I be listening to? Like who's quote unquote, in the forefront. And since neither of them are, you're just kind of getting like what's almost amounts to like a musical chord as they talk with two different timbres here, two different pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it makes it feel again ethereal, like otherworldly. But the low voice is so low that like again very threatening when this thing talks, even though it doesn't initially say anything that seems diabolical. Like it's just, oh, this is an ancient powerful thing I'm treating with, and probably again should be careful.
Yeah, it's also using like we find out later like excessively formal speech.
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a it definitely like sells the ancient power narrative even when you aren't able to understand it.
It helps you, if you're bumbling around a Colossus and you're not sure what to do. After a while, Dorman will pipe in with a hint, which is good.
Yes. They're not as helpful as I wanted to be when I was young, but they exist.
It's better than nothing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because Dorman wants you to complete your quest, so it makes sense diegetically that it would do that. But it doesn't talk to you much during the other parts of, it'll say something to you. We'll go through the story in a minute. He will talk kind of at the beginning, at the end, and at kind of key plot moments. And otherwise, all you ever hear from him is, I'm using a he pronoun. I got to pick something. It talks to you, gives you your assignment. It kind of gives you a vague description of where you need to go and what you need to kill. And then, otherwise you don't hear from him. It's very, it feels godlike. Like it's really, again, well written in how restrained they are. I keep using that word restraint, but I can't think of a better word to describe like, the temptation I'm sure would be to have Dorman say or do a lot.
Yeah, there's like you definitely talked about restraint earlier, and I feel like that's another really good selling point on this. Like there could have been way more, but there was a clear artistic intent to keep the scales or not the scale, the scope extremely tight.
All right, so that's really kind of it in terms of all the preamble. Let's get into what it's actually like to go through this game. So we open up with this prologue. Again, that gorgeous soundtrack from Koh Ohtani, as we see Wander taking his horse and the lifeless body of Mono through forests and rivers and things, and finally arriving at the Forbidden Lands, where he goes through this gate, and again, like, watchword for this game, scale, like unbelievable scale, especially on the PS2. The fact that they could do this at all, because he goes through this gate and he's on a bridge that you realize is like this impossibly long and impossibly high bridge over this desert that leads to the temple that's in the center of the Forbidden Lands, the shrine of worship. And that's kind of our opening. So I'll throw it to you guys. Like, this is one of the greatest cutscenes in video games, in my opinions, but I'll give it to you guys to talk about it.
Excellent. Yeah. So after going through this, like, again, like, this is like Notre Dame, eat your heart out, kind of like big, but it's also got like the same vaulted ceilings and stuff like that. It's, to an American, socialized American, it screamed cathedral for me. But like, yeah,
and it almost feels impossible, in the way that like Warhammer 40K feels impossible. Like everything is described in 40K as like, oh, this is like 400 feet tall, and and everything is just so massive. And the difference is here you're seeing it, right? It's visual media, and so you're seeing this bridge that is like impossibly long, right? No one could actually build this. And then cathedral, right? I actually don't think I think that's a perfect way of putting it, because it is explicitly vaulted ceilings with idols on each side, with this stairway that leads down that feels impossibly long, and then a hall that leads to this altar that feels impossibly long and impossibly tall, and the gate. This is the start of it, right? We haven't even seen a Colossus yet. We haven't even interacted with the size here. But the entire space, like everything is far shots, it's wide shots. You're marveling at everything that's happening here, and that this litty itty bitty tiny man is entering this space that feels divine.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, it's really great use of, like, not just the fact that the scale of everything is so enormous. They're really smart about how they use the camera angles here to convey that. It's one of those things where it's like you can see a picture of the Grand Canyon and it's like, yeah, I get it. It's a big gash in the ground, whatever. But when you're standing there looking at it, you're like, maybe God is real. Holy shit, look at this. It's something like that you step back and feel like, oh yes, I am a tiny human in a vast universe. When you see things that are that huge and just, overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Because normally this is something that video games really struggle with. I think of Skyrim, right? And like their idea of a mountain compared to an actual mountain is laughable. And I understand the reasons and technical limitations behind that, right? But normally we are okay as like video game players to be okay with the idea of something, the symbol of something, the idea of scale. We don't have to actually see it done. And then somebody's like, oh yeah, no, but we're going to actually. So.
Yeah. So like, even before, like you said, you've seen the giant colossi, like, again, you can feel like I'm up against something big, and it all done wordlessly, brilliantly done wordlessly.
Mm-hmm.
So Wander puts Mono's lifeless body on this, as you said, it's an altar. And we transition to this scene of just a mask, like a kind of ritual mask. And we hear a voice who we'll later find out is this character Eamon, who I guess is kind of the leader of this tribe or whatever it is. And he talks about this place, meaning the Forbidden Land, began from the resonance of intersecting points, blood, young sprouts, sky, and the one with the ability to control beings created from light. In that world, it is said that if one should wish it, one can bring back the souls of the dead. But to trespass upon that land is strictly forbidden. So this we can kind of understand that, like, this was some kind of a warning that Wander was given. That's how he knows what the Forbidden Lands are. This is some legend that's told that, like, yeah, you can go there and revive the dead by, you know, I guess getting this being or whatever that's in charge of this to do that for you, but don't. You know, we must have forbidden this for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. So after that, we, again, these like shadowy figures step out of the tile ground. They just rise out of the floor, these humanoid shadows, and then Wander draws this sword out of which light pours, and poof go these shadow creatures. Which is interesting if you've played Eco, because there's all these shadow creatures in Eco. So anyone who has played that before is instantly thinking like, oh, is this a shared universe? Like, is there a connection here? Or is this just a way to, like, he digs shadow monsters or whatever? But like, there's a sense of like, oh, I'm going to have to fight all these shadow monsters, because that's what you do in Eco. You kind of fight these things over and over again. And here, like, no, there will not be any of that combat. They're going to evaporate in a second. And then we're going to get into what this game really is.
Yeah, as it turns out, Tarantino's into feet and Ueda's into shadow creatures.
Exactly. And then there's also, like, God, how do I put that? Like, there's no Yorda to kidnap. Mono's already dead. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is where Dorman and Wander have their first interaction. Dorman is represented, picture like a stone well, but it's on the ceiling, and instead of water, there's light. So it's like, it's not exactly a skylight, but they sort of treat it like it's one.
Kind of, yeah.
And Dorman notes, hey, you've got the sword. That's interesting. You are mortal. And Wander says, I was told that in this place at the end of the world, there exists a being who can control the souls of the dead. And Dorman confirms that. And Wander says, she was sacrificed, for she has a cursed fate. Please, I need you to bring back her soul. And Dorman laughs and says, souls that are once lost cannot be reclaimed. Is that not the law of mortals? But with that sword you have, that may not be impossible. Of course, if as long as you do what we ask. And he says, what do I have to do? And he says, well, you see all these idols on the wall? You have to destroy all of them, but you can't just, whack them to the ground. There are colossi that are the incarnations of these idols. If you defeat them, the idols will fall. And he says, but heed this, the price you pay may be heavy indeed. And Wander says, it doesn't matter. And so Dorman says, okay, hold up your sword, and there where the light gathers, you'll find where they are to defeat. Amazingly, like, weighty conversation, and so much packed into this dense little, interchange. Again, so little dialogue in this game. They make every word count.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And reminder, again, the first time through, you don't get any of this in English.
Yes. There are subtitles, but yeah.
Yeah, the first time through, I think they give it to you in, like, the subtitles are also gibberish or something. The only, like, things you get in English are, like, literal, like, developer, like, message, like, press triangle to get on your horse or whatever. Like, that you need to know. But the first time through, you don't even get this dialogue. But it's so simple, but again, so impactful.
Yeah, and you can also, like, you can glean this too, and then, like, you go back and you have it confirmed, and then it's like, oh, yeah, I know where this story is going, and yes, all of this makes sense now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and again, like, minimal, like, they don't even tell you the relationship between Wander and Mono. Like, is this his sister? Is it a lover? Is it, just someone he feels personally responsible for her death? And they don't have any relationship outside of that. They just let you know, like, it's important to him. So it matters to us.
Yeah, it's just he was a guy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love a little bit of that.
Yeah, I love that there's those subtle notes, right? She was sacrificed because she has a cursed fate. Like, I don't think we're ever even told exactly what that is. Again, it may be a connection to Eco, but he just is, he's eager. He's like, I have to do this. Let's go.
I've got one more note on Dorman too, is that, like, in the Japanese, like, which was the original thing. Like, we've already talked about the male and female voice and gender, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's using second person pronouns the entire time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it speaks in like we.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not a it's not confirmed that it's like a truly like a plural person of like or multiple things like coexisting as a singular thing. But it's never denied either. So.
Yeah, and there's other connections in that it's Nimrod backwards. Originally, this game was going to be called Nimrod and the Colossus. They, because of the biblical Nimrod, who was this mighty king,
mighty hunter.
Yeah, but they didn't do that because Nimrod has another meaning in English, which is idiot. So they're like, we can't call her.
Yeah, and that's fascinating because Bugs Bunny called Elmer Fudd that to mock him because he was Elmer Fudd was not such a great hunter. But now, since nobody at the age of like 5 watching the cartoon can understand biblical allusions yet, like they just like, oh, Nimrod means somebody that's dumb. So
and it's taken on that meaning ever since. Yeah. So they did not call this Nimrod and the Colossus, and they obviously didn't call Wander Nimrod, but they did keep the illusion by making Dorman that character's name. So just thought I'd point that out. So again, now we're off and running. We have our sword, and we cross this vast expanse in front of us, a relatively short distance, as we'll see, even though it seems huge, to get to this first layer of the Colossus. That's Valus the Minotaur, which you've already said. You kind of you plink him, or you get him to you hit him in the calf so he goes down, and then you can climb up and hit him in the head. And we haven't talked yet about what happens when you kill a Colossus. So I will turn that over to you, because this is really something the first time it happens.
It's so good. So you got these weak points, right? So you actually shine the sword, to find the layer, but you also shine the sword to find the weak point on this class that you have to then climb to and get to. And when you get there, it's this glowing blue sigil. There's not a better word than sigil. And as you stab them with like great force, like you have to like raise up your arms and make this mighty blow, and you drain a massive amount of health from this thing. And you can see it, like you can just feel it. And when you finally, do that enough times, they fall, they die. There's a quick cutscene where you see that happen, and black inky shadows. Because I say inky for a reason, because they're not ephemeral. These are visceral feeling tendrils reaching for you, and they fly out of the final sigil into Wander, and you almost see like a convulsion, and this boy falls and then wakes up in the altar room back at the shrine.
Yeah, and we had previously talked about the Wander like getting like degrading, I think was the term we used, right?
Yeah, degrading.
That happens after the very first one.
Mm-hmm.
The very first one you defeated, your hands are stained. There's no going back. damn spot. So
Yeah, and it's subtle too. Like it's not obvious unless you really are paying attention that there's a difference in his character model. But like, yeah, not only does he convulse, he like pukes up this like black bile like substance too when it hits him in like the back. Those tendrils are real like they're not exactly solid or liquid, but they have a substance to them, and the way they kind of arch around is like almost like vines. They're very like kind of strange in the way they like move all over. It's almost like, oh, this is what's inside of the Colossus that you've now like burst out of it, and it infects you.
Yeah.
It's extremely organic, yeah.
And the music that plays here too, like because normally, like right, you've had this triumphant music. The orchestra's going nuts. You're climbing on the back of something 50 feet tall, and you're stabbing it, and this stuff's going everywhere. And you're expecting, Final Fantasy da 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 when you finally kill it. That's not what you get.
Yes,
you get this sad funereal like the word you used before is melancholy. Like this is ultra melancholy of like, you did a bad thing. You took something majestic out of the world and maybe did something even worse than that.
It's a dirge.
Yes. Yeah. Dirge is the right word. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you really feel that, especially when we talked about like, right, the Colossi feel sort of innocent. Like he's just minding his own gigantic business, not doing anything. And then you come along and kill it. Like it is, it's frightening in some ways, but also again, still very, there's a grandeur to it that like, oh, I killed this thing. I really shouldn't have done that. I've ruined a thing of beauty. And as we'll see,
better be worth it.
It better be worth it. And we're, like I said, doing something even worse than just destroying something amazing. And so we warp through this like black, birth canal, basically. Like I know it's a loading screen technically of like, how do we hide the fact that we have to reload the shrine of worship for you to appear back there? But It's interesting that you're traveling through this like dark tunnel towards a light before you arrive back at the shrine of worship. And sure enough, as promised, one of those big idol statues just shatters. And Dorman gives you your instructions to go kill the next one, and off you go. And we come to Quadratus the Mammoth.
Yep. Taurus Magnus, the Great Bull. The largest, actually, of the terrestrial colossi that move. The mountain, the last one, is technically the tallest, but 33 meters tall and just a huge friggin' elephant boy.
Yep. And each one of these, again, represents a puzzle. Like, okay, it's huge. And unlike the first one, like, there's nowhere to, like, no point you can latch onto low enough to the ground to climb up the side of this thing. So you're going to have to find a way to get it to lower itself. That's the puzzle, kind of like with the last one. But you do it a little differently this time. Underneath his feet are like tender points, like kind of like a horse would have, like with, around their hoof, like where his foot is. So you have to shoot him with, so you have to ride under him or close to him. And when it lifts up its feet, you hit that with a bow and arrow, and he'll go down, and then you can climb up on him and do what you need to do.
Great teaching thing as well, and this game is really big on that. Like, each one is in order for a reason, because you learn lessons from every Colossus that you use in later ones, usually, at least slightly. And the one with this one is, you can use your horse in combat, right? Like, you can ride around, you can stand on aggro, you can fire while standing, you can do the cool horse surfing stuff, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of mobility in the game, unless you're climbing, in which case you're never climbing fast enough. You're never doing it quick enough.
Well, as we talked about before too, like when you're climbing on the side of one of these things, it will try to like thrash you off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and you have to time your ascent to like contemplate that. And I've done a fair bit of rock climbing. I used to be pretty good, right? Like, but that wall didn't move.
Yeah.
This is not an easy thing the person is doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you mentioned the timing, right? Because you can see your meter there depleting. It's like, okay, I can hang on long enough for this thing to like thrash itself out, and then I'll get a break. But I have to be able to get myself to a point where I can stand, long enough to let that meter refill. Because pretty soon, I've got to move or climb, or he's gonna freak out, and I gotta, stay on. Because if you get thrown off, you're back on the ground, and if you're lucky enough to survive, you've got to make your way all the way back up to the top where you were. But yeah, so we warp back again, and we're told about our next quarry, which turns out to be Gaius the Knight. You go through like a swamp to this huge stone kind of circular island on which is this enormous humanoid type Colossus with a massive sword.
Yes. Yeah, and Gaius is the first one who's active. You walk up onto that platform, and he immediately starts trying to hit you with this sword club thing. And pretty quickly, hopefully, you realize that is the key. That like, oh, we don't actually have to try and get this guy to do anything. No, he's gonna do his own thing, right? Now we just need to get up that sword and get on top of him.
Yeah, this is a very like wish fulfillment kind of thing, right? This is as epic a fight as you can imagine, that he crashes the sword into the ground, and then you can run up the length of the blade to his torso, and then there's various weak points along him that you will have to attack until you wear him down. But
Yeah, this is like exalted like that's a TTRPG.
Yes.
This is like a high-powered TTRPG thing where like, oh yeah, no, of course I run up the dude's sword and kick him with my spike. Yeah,
It's some anime shit. It's great.
Yeah.
Or in video game terms, like this is a very God of War kind of thing to do. Like it's epic in scope and it's badass. But again, unlike God of War, which would relish doing this, Shadow of the Colossus again is always telling you like, but this is bad. Like doing this is wrong. It's like it's exhilarating but never in a way that feels like it's exhilarating in a way that always feels like this is terribly dangerous. I shouldn't be up here this high. I'm going to die. And even if I don't die and I succeed, that's also bad.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So we go to our next Colossus, which is Phaedra. This is the one that is kind of equine or giraffe-like. It's got these long spindly legs. And the gimmick here is there's like a kind of a mound of like stone in the ground with tunnels running through it. So you need to get under that mound and use that as kind of cover to wait for an opportune moment to get out and then make further progress on him.
Yeah, Equus Bellator Apex, which later actually called the Kirin, which of course, like he's Japanese, right? He's going to use the East Asian horse creature, rather than giraffe necessarily. But yeah, Phaedra is great because he has these little like tassels off of his head, and that's actually how you get up, and that felt really cool in the moment. I can remember figuring that out because his legs are almost like crab like, so there's nowhere to grab, right? And he's so incredibly tall that you're jumping, you're trying maybe other stuff, things that have worked on previous Colossus, right? Where oh, I can get this horse and I can like try and leap, right? But you can't jump high enough. And finally you can realize, oh, if I just get underneath here, he'll kind of poke his head around looking for you, and you can grab onto like, I guess what could almost be described as like reins, since it is a horse. These little like tassels thing off of his head, and it's like, oh, dope! Right now, I can climb up and get up into this thing's face.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of the lessons that you learned very early on is that you, generally speaking, can't grab the bone. You have to grab the fur, moss, hair stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah, this has already been well ingrained in the player at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this was a gameplay thing that like Ueda was really into, which is this idea that they want the physics to feel right. So that like this thing, like in terms of the hit detection or the of the wireframe that makes up this creature, you have to be able to interact with it regardless of what position its body is in. It has to make sense. So like, normally like in a video game, there's like going to be kind of like invisible places where like you can stand on top of this, here, but it's all an illusion kind of thing. But here it's like, no, it has to be a solid object all the way around and react to you correctly. And it was their focus on making this as complicated and like as, epic and everything that it is, which was one of the reasons they said, let's scale back and not have any other combat in the game. We're just going to do this because we're putting all our eggs in this basket. And again, great choice.
It's a good basket. It's a good basket.
Well, not only because it made the Colossus awesome, but it enhanced the game ultimately for all the reasons we talked about, that you're not doing this, as you make your way across the Forbidden Lands. So now we come to Avion the bird.
Yep.
This is another triumph. I think this one, you're in this waterlogged like city and you're kind of climbing on like the tops of like ruined like walls. They're kind of square. And this bird thing is flying around. And what you have to do is you shoot it with your bow to get its attention. So it'll swoop down. And when it swoops down, you jump onto it and hold on for dear life into the sky. And like,
it feels so cool.
Fuck yeah.
When I finally figured this out, I remember actually shouting, like physically being exhilarated at this, like, oh my God, I got it. Yeah.
Also, the immediate realization that like, oh, these fuckers can fly.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And again, also like just that feeling of like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like you're in the air and it's like banking and turning and you're barely holding on. Like I'm going to get dropped, and you probably will the first time you fight this. You're going to get dropped back into the water and have to climb back up.
At least once or twice.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say that the camera is super chaotic at that point, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, stuff is fighting against you, and you're fighting back. So,
yeah, we didn't talk about this so much with the gameplay stuff. We talked about it with Aggro a little bit, but even with Wander, like the play control is just slightly clumsier than you want it to be. This is a thing in his games. Like all three of his big games so far have this in a way that is like just tuned enough to make it feel real. That like, I'm not quite as nimble and adept. I ain't Mario. Like I'm not jumping around real easy and stopping on a dime. Like I'm a guy. I'm just a real life kind of guy up against this thing. In a way that really works for me. I know some people again find this frustrating because they want that tightness of control. But that's not what we're doing here. Like it's to a purpose.
Yeah, just those microsecond delay, the variations and stuff. Like, yeah.
Right. Because you're allowed to fail. It's not a punishing game. Not really,
Yeah, you're meant to get through. Like I said, you can probably finish this game in under 10 hours if you're really kind of, moving at a good clip. Like it doesn't take that long to play. It's about having this singular experience. It's not about some of these hey, it's Tears of the Kingdom, it'll take you 150 hours to finish, like that's it's not about that. It's about like Ueda has this thing he wants you to do. It's laser focused, get in, get out kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I could we went for a hike. I came back. I played a little bit more. We went out for dinner. Came back. I played a little bit more. It was great because I could knock out a Colossus or two, then put it down and feel like I had done something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're almost halfway through them. You know, we haven't even been talking that long about, you know, what this is. So let's go to our next one. Colossus number 6, Barba the Giant. This is interesting. Not the beard. He's appropriately named, I guess, Barba.
Yeah, I despised Barba. Barba's the scary one that I mentioned earlier. Barba's the one who runs at you. Uh, and yeah, he's actually, I will say that Barba's the first one where every lesson you've learned prior you use. Um, and so like you're not necessarily learning new lessons with Barba. You're actually instead getting to apply ones that you already had, right? And so, being the second Minotaur, like, oh, okay, there's elements of Valis here. Him being active and very aggressive, there's elements of Gaius here, trying to grab onto something that's on its face, right? This is very much aspects of Phaedra, right? So you're learning from bits and pieces of all the previous ones. And this is really the first one that's just like, oh, we are in it. I've got this, right? The only problem is he's crazy aggressive and he will, until you find a hiding place, he will just come at you. Like there is no stopping. There is no, there's no opportunity with this guy until the secret is to instead figure out how to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's yeah, and even then the opportunities for respite are extremely limited.
Yes.
So
Yeah, he's tough. Like I think you're like, oh, it's another one of these Minotaur-ish ones. Like, well, I've done this before. How hard could this be? And it's like, we're gonna trick you with that. Like you the thing is obviously, yes, I got to get up his beard. Like that's what I need to do. But this is one where like the speed of it is the challenge of like, oh shit, you're not giving me. It's usually you have a little more leisure to kind of wander around these things, maybe on aggro, maybe not, but like to figure out, oh, where's the weak point? Where's the way I can get up there? You can have you can be more thoughtful about what you're doing. Here, It's like you're under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I think the way to say that is that the challenge isn't exactly the understanding. It's almost not even in the execution. It's that the player expectation has been shifted yet again. And this is a great game that does it gives you a familiar framework, but as soon as you start to get like super comfortable in something, it will change the formula a little bit. So
yeah. So our next one is a big change of formula. This is Hydrus the Eel.
Yeah.
Oh, this motherfucker.
This one, yeah, some of them are more fun than others. This one is, this one's a real, as you said, a motherfucker is probably the right way to describe it.
No, he's a motherfucker. Yeah. Yes. You, like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's water involved? Like, again, every moment Yeah, every moment is just this another level of like, you can do that?
Mm-hmm. And he's an electric eel, which makes it even harder.
Yeah, with like a catfishy type face, which I appreciated as a southerner. Uh,
And you have to like work.
um,
Yeah, you have to stay under for long. Obviously, you can't hold your breath forever. You have to work your way past these like electric spines to get to the sigils. It's just a lot of like little. There's relatively little margin for error because you have to again manage those meters of like I got to get to the thing before I run out of grip strength or air.
mm-hmm,
Right.
mm-hmm.
And this is also about the time where if you haven't been collecting the lizards or fruit, it starts to get really difficult.
Yeah, you're learning that
Ask me
lesson.
how I know.
Right, no, same,
Yeah.
same. Because I didn't know those were a thing.
I remember, I think I found out like near the end of the game because it happened almost on accident. I'm like, oh, God dang it. I could have been doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, it's too late now.
Yeah, there's no going back.
And you need a lot of them because the fruit and the lizards, they upgrade your meters, but each one is a relatively small amount. So you got to collect a fair number of them to make a difference. But for a fight like this, yeah, every little bit helps. All right, so next up is Kuramori the lizard. This is a lizard you're in this kind of like small version of like a coliseum, as I recall, right? And he's kind of
I would call it an arena.
an arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of clambering around the walls on the inside of it. Kind of a gecko-like creature.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. His Latin name is Peratine Umbra, the Shadow of the Ruins. Whereas the other ones, like their Latin names were usually like, oh, Draco Marinus, the Sea Dragon, right? Or Bellua Maximus, the Great Beast. Like this one's just like, nope, no description of the thing. This is the Shadow of the Ruins, and it's also the only one with a ranged attack, and again, just another like they can do that.
I don't remember this one being particularly hard.
I mean, but also our expectations were just set after Hydrus. So
Yeah.
I also don't remember this one giving me a ton of trouble, but also I think that was just because Hydrus took me like
Forever.
I can't remember how many tries.
Yeah, fair.
But it was notable that I remembered how many times I had to reset that one. So.
And Kuramori's also smaller. So he's one of the three truly small ones. Like Kuramori is 6 feet long, or sorry, 6 meters long. So like 20 feet, maybe 21. That's nothing, like comparatively, right? Because we're obviously talking about things that are, in the 20s to 30s to 200s long. It always feels, again, also like subverting expectations. This one's small and agile. Everything up to this point, they've been kind of lumbering. They've been, even though Hydrus like swims fairly fast, he still doesn't feel like he's necessarily outpacing you. Whereas Kuramori, like, oh, he's faster than you. He will catch you. And you're trying to, move around walls and deal with this thing that's up on the walls and spitting poison at you.
Exactly. It's a yeah, like I said, there's enough here to keep you on your toes, even if you are just point-to-pointing this game.
Yep.
So.
All right, let's go on to Bazaran the turtle. This is a real showstopper in terms of like aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another giant quadrilateral, not quadrilateral, quadrupedal
Yes.
He's not a
Yeah.
big square. He's a big turtle walking through this field of giant geysers. And it took me, and you're on aggro for this. You have to be running on aggro, have him running basically at full speed all the time because this thing is firing lightning bolts at you. And the only way you can really avoid them is to have aggro outrun them at full speed. But the trick here is you need to trigger the geysers or have Bazaran over a geyser when it goes, because the force of that will, he's a turtle, knock him onto his back, and that's what you need to get to the vulnerable spots.
Yeah, I remember actually getting this one really fast. It may have been luck more than anything else.
So this one took me a while, so congrats.
Yeah. I think it was one of those things where it was like, I had enough media at that point in my life that was like, well, there's big things, and like this is a big thing, so I can take the big thing and push the big thing over, and then it's a big thing. Child brain.
Yeah, I think that I had trouble making the shots going at full speed.
Fair.
But that was something that was great to practice because that was absolutely needed for the next one. So
yeah, the next one's real interesting. The next one is Dirge. The Shai Hulud is sort of what this is.
Yeah.
So you go into this cave that the floor of the cave is all, loose sand. And there's this, thinks, again, the worms from Dune or Beetlejuice, it burrows through the sand. And when it is, poking itself above, that's when you have to go after it. Basically while you're on aggro again to get some speed, right? Because he's pretty swift.
Yes, he's fast.
Right,
Yeah.
and this is one where you're explicitly having to shoot behind you.
Yes.
So you're going at full speed and you can't see where you're going.
Yep. Yeah, and he's coming at you. 300-foot long, massive dune sandworm type. His Latin name is Harina tigris, the sand tiger. And it's like, yep, that fits. That's fair.
Yeah, I remember this one in particular was notable for two reasons. One, we rarely see caves in this particular game. And two, it took me a while to figure out to shoot the eye. And then I'm like, oh god, okay, that's fine. That's fine, keep it going. But yeah. I did not like trying to shoot behind me and not seeing where I was going.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Real tricky. So the next one we come to is Celosia.
Mm-hmm. The smallest.
This is the smallest one. It has kind of a warthog-like appearance that has these two big tusks. And this one's, again, more of a puzzly one as well, because he's in this dark cave and there's kind of a canyon there, and he's real fast. And you've got to use like fire, as I recall, right, to kind of win the day here.
Yeah, that's what I recall too. A little bit.
Yeah, so it's like there's fire, and like that'll like spook him, and that gives him enough for you to basically climb around it, because it's super aggressive, super fast, and technically all you have to do is just get onto its flank, but you can't do that because it kind of it'll continuously charge you basically, and you just have to keep dodging continuously.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, you have to like get him to fall off of a ledge basically first. That is, you're never going to get anywhere until he does that. So you use the fire.
That was Cenobia. Okay, this is it was Celosia. Okay, Celosia and Cenobia are very similar. That's 11 and 15.
Right.
They look very similar. They're the same size. They act very similarly. And it is easy to get them mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So number 12 here. This is Pelagia the Lake Beast here.
Mm-hmm.
this is interesting. This is again, we've gone from all these ones that are like hyper aggressive. This is this kind of again like plesiosaur. I mean, it's a water creature, relative like one of the least hostile ones in the game in a way. Like it just kind of trudges around the water, and this one's way more of just a puzzle to figure out how to get to the spots, but it is way less aggressive in terms of trying to like get at you. This is kind of again this is more thinky.
Right, and again, like we should mention that the swim controls are serviceable, but you do not swim quick.
No. This thing is way faster than you, mostly just through sheer size. Like we literally just went from the smallest Colossus to Pelagia's, 30 meters tall, 32 meters long. And he's almost like it's quadrupedal, but it's almost like an ape is, right? Where they're like hunched over. So there's nothing to get onto, and you have to figure out basically how to get around this room. And most of the time, it's just clambering onto these ruins and kind of waiting for him to come by, because he's just stuck in his loop and just wanders the room and won't even try and knock you off when you first get onto his back until you hit the first weak point, and then he freaks out and it's like, oh, okay, this is a fight.
Right.
But when we kill Pelagia, we are treated to not only the usual cutscene of the black goo and tendrils, we actually get a plot cutscene here. We cut away from the Forbidden Lands to outside of it, and we see the man with the mask from the opening. This is Eamon and a few other dudes riding up to a kind of an overlook where they can see the shrine of worship from where they are. We understand they are approaching the Forbidden Lands and they're not there yet. And he just says only a little more to go. So what we understand is obviously they figured out what you were up to and are trying to stop it for, again, we'll find out, good reason.
Yes.
This is also the point where like you have reached like your maximum degradation. Like if you didn't notice before, then you will notice now that like, oh, this guy has like really gone through it. Like the hair is completely black at this point. The your tunic is super soiled and tattered, and like your clothes are dirty. There's blood and blisters on your shins. Like it's a lot.
And I think at a certain point you start seeing like black kind of like veins like creeping up your face, like your eyes change color.
Not on a 9-inch CRT TV, but looking at it now,
yes,
absolutely.
Especially in the remake, they do a lot to make it much more obvious.
Yeah.
Right.
But they don't make it obvious all at once. Like, again, this is a subtle transformation over the course of the game. But we go back, we're back on our mission. And again, we got to keep going, right? What else can we do? We got to save Mono. And we go fight Phalanx the Air Snake. And again, like some of these are real triumphs of just having someone just show here, this will blow your mind when you see it. And it's just this snake doesn't really quite describe it. It's not reptilian, but it is long and sinuous, and it is kind of just kind of slowly moving through the air in sort of a loose figure eight type pattern. It's got these long, kind of like almost insect like wings on it, and these big bladders of gas that are, I guess, must be what's keeping it up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was definitely like, this is one of those colossi that I see most on posters and fan art and stuff like that for a good reason. This is like not just striking, but like fantastical whenever you see it, like in the true sense of the like awe-inspiring word. Like, okay, cool. What am I going to do about that?
Yeah. It's awesome in the way the word awesome is used in the Bible, right? Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, he is a full 200 meters long, so I believe 720 feet. 656 feet long, and you feel it. Like, even just coming up on the arena, it's in the distance when you first show up, and as it gets closer, you just get more and more the sense of like, oh, this boy big, right? Like, by a lot. It's not even close, the comparison between him and the other largest colossi.
Yeah, just absolutely gobsmacking the first time you see this. One of the most, in a game full of striking, unbelievable visuals, this is way up there. And you hit the gas bags with arrows that makes it, come down low enough that you can get to it. And again, you do what you got to do up in the sky, which is thrilling and terrifying all at the same time. But it's back to Earth, back to the Shrine of Worship, and it's time to go kill Zenobia the Lion.
Mm-hmm.
This is another small one, like Celosia. You're kind of running in and around this one's very much like I'm in a like ruins. Like some of these ruins are like, you can tell like there's stonework that's like barely left. This is like a structure that's still there. This feels like kind of like a Mayan temple or something. Like this has managed to last through whatever has happened here.
Right. And this was one of the ones that gave me the most trouble too.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in my top 3 along with Hylas and maybe one of the Minotaurs. I can't recall the second one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Barba.
Probably Barba.
Yeah, he's fast. He pursues you. It kind of sucks, to be honest. Like this is not one of the more interesting, fun ones, especially coming off of the last one.
Yeah, and I would say like Zenobia, unfortunately, it feels a lot like Celosia. So like they look similar, and the strategies for taking them out is similar-ish, right? They're not identical, which is actually part of the problem. So you go into the fight thinking, oh, I can do XYZ, that doesn't work, you lose. You try something else, you lose. You try something else, you lose, because this guy does not stop.
Right.
And the minute you are down in any way, it's just instant death. It doesn't matter how high your health is. You can't get it high enough. Because this thing doesn't stop.
Right.
And it's actually really interesting to have this, like in terms of the narrative and pacing and whatnot, because this is a super aggressive one right after 2 of the most docile ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we go to Argus the Minotaur. This is one of the biggest ones. You enter this arena, and just the size of the arena already tells you it's this huge, empty, like giant stone rectangle, and then there's walls on either side and staircases and things and entryways there. Again, this feels like it was, it's hard to, your imagination runs wild as to like what was this built for, because Argus takes up most of it.
Yeah. He's specifically very wide, and he's one of the few that you have to get above, and so it feels extra weighty. Of like, oh, I'm 70 feet in the air, 70, 80 feet in the air, and because I have to get on top of this thing, not from climbing it, but from climbing the space around it.
Yeah, you have to kind of like work your way along those staircases and things on the side to kind of get height and also get out of its way, as you kind of work your way up to a point where you can get down on top of it to hit the weak points. All right, so now it's time we go back to the Shrine of Worship where, we're told this is it. This is the last one. Then it'll all be over. Then you'll be able to take care of Mono. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
and you ride your horse down to the very south of the map, one of the last places on the map you have not been. And as you approach it, you have to go over this kind of like rickety bridge, and like there's a river, and unfortunately Aggro does not make it. He falls into the river, and you are separated from him in a way that's like, for a kid who grew up on the Neverending Story, don't fucking kill a horse in front of me. That's rough to watch.
Yep.
And it is rough to watch. Like, they hit you hard with the song, with the whole feeling. Like, you have subsisted on this horse. It is your only companion this whole time. And then they can kill him off. Well, not technically, but sort of. And it's not okay.
Like, like his last act is bucking you over the bridge.
Yes.
Like getting you to the other side, even if he can't make it. So.
Right. But it's emotional, as you said, like, this is your only companion. He's been your solid guy through this. He's helped you kill a bunch of these things, and his last act is to save your life.
And this is also the time when, like, the lighting goes from like this weird never-ending perpetual twilight to black.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sun finally sets whenever you're fighting this last Colossus. It's almost it's like like there's just such a stark contrast in this, right? Because like it hasn't really played with the time of day before, but now it is night
and it's raining, right, and thundering and stuff, and we approach the last Colossus, Malice, the sorcerer. And think kind of like if you've seen Fantasia, Night on Bald Mountain sequence, right? This kind of big demon. Little bit of shades of that. It's, again, sort of shaped like a big chess piece that's a man, but extremely large. You have to do this run up to it first, kind of like, imagine you're kind of like running through trenches and things, dodging lightning to get just to the base of it. And this is,
that's a perfect way of putting it. Yeah, it's a trench run. Yeah, you're dodging literal projectiles that it's firing at you.
Yeah. And this is your final exam. It's, very tricky to climb. You have to manage. It's, there's not a lot of places to hold on to. It's got a couple of different sigils you got to get to way, 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 way up top. So if you mess this up, you got a long way to go down. This is a hard final fight.
Yeah, and specifically, there's a couple moments that really stand out, where you have to jump between his arms. And the animations do loop, right? So like you'll be holding on to one of his hands, and there will be a looping animation. It's pretty slow, but where the other hand will come close, but not close enough, right? You're not just stepping over. This is a jump through open air, across these moving hands, and it feels again like it's the final exam. Yeah, you said it exactly right. Like, you've learned all these lessons, you've learned how this works, you know what you can do, and you're gonna be tested, and you better pass.
Yeah, I will say that they did stuff where it was not that you got explicit checkpoints, but there were places for you to rest and take stock and get your breath between some of these sigils that you're stabbing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But we kill this one just like we did with the other 15. And we cut back to Eamon and his team. They're descending that long spiral staircase we saw from the beginning. They cross that big pool of water that's at the bottom of it. And they see Mono. They see the last idol shatter, confirm, as the last Colossus dies. And they're basically like, oh no, we are too late. And we see Mono. I'm sorry, Wander. We cut back to him. He's lying on the ground in front of the now downed 16th Colossus, and he starts to move as the camera pans up, and he just reappears in the shrine as he's done. And while Eamon is performing this chant over Mono's body, he turns around and they see Wanderers in the room, and he looks real bad now. Like he already looked pretty bad. Now he looks much worse. He's also got two little horns protruding from his head, which is a thing from Eco that they're nodding towards, but suggesting he's cursed. And Eamon tells him, do you have any idea what you've done? You stole the sword, you trespassed on the cursed land, you used the forbidden spell, and Wander is barely can get to his feet, and Eamon tells him, you were being used. The goal was to, he says, eradicate the source of evil. And like, Wander keeps lurching towards this guy as like the soldiers start, readying their arrows. And, he tells him, he's possessed by the dead. Hurry up and do it. Like there's the shadow guys all behind him. And one of these guys hits Wander with an arrow, and the shadow kind of seeps out of the wound, just like it did with the Colossi. And it spreads over more of his body. And I'll kind of stop there to let you guys kind of take where it goes from here, because this is really crazy.
Yeah, and we've got this it's better to put him out of his misery to exist because he's been so obviously cursed that he's, this idea of like a micro Colossus has been formed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and then Wander is stabbed by one of the followers just straight through the chest, and and it's the exact same thing as when the Colossi are stabbed. It's that same black tendril, black ooze. But yeah, then the followers backed up, people are there, but Wander at this point is single-minded in his determination and just need to see this thing through. So he starts going over to that altar where Mono is lying, and he's reaching out. He pulls the sword out of his chest, and then just it completely encases his body in darkness. Let's see.
Yeah, right. He's enveloped in this darkness, and he becomes this kind of hulking, kind of looks like the Balrog a little bit from Lord of the Rings. This huge behemoth thing.
Yeah, it's a little Balrog-y. It's a little Minotaur-y, because there's really been a few of those. It's a little just big hulking beast. Shadow, again, Ueda loves the shadow beasts, right? It's a shadow beast type of thing. And it seems very clear that this is what you've been becoming, right? And this is some manifestation of Dorman. And you get a little bit of like Eamon and the guards like shouting like, "Oh, he's back." Dorman talking to them, "You tried to seal me away. We're using the body of this warrior." And then you take control, and they run, they bolt, right? They're like, "Nope, this is fucked. We're done. We lost. It's too late." They run away, and you try to chase them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
As you said, like with this game, right, up until this moment, for this has all been a cutscene. It's all been the game showing you this, and Dorman says, you somehow severed me into 16 pieces. That's what the Colossi were. They were the pieces of Dorman's soul or whatever, and by destroying them, you've allowed him to reassemble himself. Of course, he wanted you to go and kill all these things. That's exactly what he wanted. And so you become this behemoth. As you said, you get. It's really interesting. The game gives you control back as you're this kind of now you're the Colossus, a literal shadow of a Colossus. Kind of wreaking havoc kaiju style through this hallway at these guys. And Eamon gets to the end and he takes the magic sword and he throws it into the pool. And light shines out of the pool and it creates this like vortex tornado type thing that sucks you toward it. And you're using your grip strength meter to hold on. Again, like it's ludic. It's part of the gameplay. It doesn't just show you getting sucked into the vortex. You get to use your grip strength to try and hold it off. And you watch that meter dwindle as you realize like there is no escaping this. But they do it in the form of gameplay. It's not just, one of the brilliant things of this game is it's all tied into the play itself is also how they get this across. It's so much more impactful that you're trying to use your in-game like gameplay ability to stop this from happening. They could have just shown it to you, but they do it this way. It makes it way more visceral and like immediate.
Right. Back before immersion became a buzzword, this was how you did it.
Yeah. This was the start of that, right? Like, you mentioned at the top, like, if there is an argument that video games are art, this is one of them. And I would say it was one of the first. Maybe not the first, but damn close to it. And so much of that was this conscious, smart decision making that developers were making at every moment along the way of what do you do, what do you not do, what do you see, what do you not see, and how do we make this narrative?
Yeah, like this is a really important thing, and like remembering, like it's a game. The thing that's unique to games is the interactivity in the gameplay. So when you use that to tell the story, you're taking advantage of the medium. So like another great example of this that maybe people would be more familiar with is The Last of Us. Since if people watch the HBO show, I won't spoil anything if you haven't seen it or played the game, but there is a very critical death that happens at the end of the first game and at the end of the first season of the show. But the way they do it in the game is they could just show that to you, but they give you instead a button prompt, press X or whatever to kill this person, and you have you right? It somehow feels different when the game shows it to you like it's a little mini movie versus like, no, you pull the trigger, player. You wanted to play this game. You don't have any other options. You only have one button to press. It's this or turn it off. So
yeah,
it's MGS3 where you have to kill the boss.
Yes.
All right, so you're sucked into the vortex here. You're sucked into the pool. The wind dissipates, and Eamon and his followers ride back across the bridge since it's now collapsing. This is the only way in or out of the Forbidden Lands, and they're getting the hell out of there as everything collapses. But the camera shifts back inside the shrine, and Dorman was at least not lying about this because Mono comes back to life. And she steps off the altar, and very happily, so does Agro. He comes in. He's limping a little bit, but he's okay. Mm-hmm. And Mono pets him, and then the credits start to roll, and we see all the locations of where the 16 colossi were as the credits roll. But you see like the ruined like bits of stonework and stuff that they used to be.
Yeah.
And we hear Eamon say, "Poor ungodly soul, now no man shall ever trespass upon this place again. Should you be alive, if it's even possible to continue to exist in these sealed lands, one day perhaps you will make atonement for what you've done." And we go back to the shrine. There's this like garden on the top of the shrine that if you
Apparently.
if you do a lot of legwork to get like every grip strength thing and every hidden upgrade thing in the game, you will have enough ability to make your way up to this place, like as Wanderer during the body of the game. So it is technically accessible, but it's this.
I had no idea.
Yeah, technically is
That's
playing a strong word there.
Yeah. But she's in this garden, and she Mono and Agro walk to this pool of water, and Wanderer is now in the form of a baby with horns on the surface of the water. Again, suggesting this is some kind of prequel, perhaps, to Eco.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hadn't actually. That makes sense.
Then that's what I thought too. This was the start of the horned child bloodline sort of thing, because we hadn't seen horns before that, and we're talking about cursed lands, talking about like all sorts of stuff. So,
it's just
that's
enough.
interesting.
It's just enough for you to draw those connections. Again, we don't have time to go into the like what Eco is all about and the connections to it, but that's what they're suggesting with this.
I will also say that Eco does not care about explaining any of its stuff either. So
No. Eco explains literally nothing. That is straight up, he was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
or just like hey, you probably need help out of that cage, right? Let me get that for you.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
And that's really it. We get some like swooping shots with this like eagle kind of thing that was at the very beginning of the game, kind of a mirror to that, and we're done with Shadow of the Colossus. And so now we've kind of made it to the end. I'm going to leave it to you guys to kind of get your take on kind of like the themes of this and kind of the talk about just going out on this note of leaving you just breathless after all of this kind of drama that takes up this game.
I will say one thing too. I really liked Eco's closing song more than this one. I think that's just like I think that's more like personal preference or anything like that. And like, I don't think that this one is bad. I think that Eco's is just very, very good, and that's a hard bar to hit.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I will say this. It's funny because when I first saw the actual final credits, I actually, as a child, thought it was a cop-out. I was like, no, he died. He fucked up. He's supposed to be dead. He doesn't get to come back. No. But coming back to it, I played it for the first time since I was a child over the pandemic, and mostly because I found out there was the remake, and it was like, oh, I mean, come on, obviously I have to, right? And it hit me much more there of this feeling of like, oh no, this is just more loneliness. Because like, sure, Mono's back, but like she's back with a baby and a horse in a new place where she, resurrected, and she perceivably died somewhere very different with, I mean, based upon the whole, like, oh, she was killed because of a cursed fate, like, you can assume there's some sort of civilization, and, like, the loneliness cycle is never ending, right? Like, because Wander did this thing, now instead this person that he cared for in whatever form of love we're going to use here, now she's alone too instead, and in a different way, instead having to live rather than to die.
Yeah, and again, Dorman never once said that this would turn out any other way. This was like truly a doomed quest with a tragic hero. but like you can't have a really good tragedy without that little bit of greatness.
And the grace
Yeah.
note, right? That she does come back to life. Like you could have written this game and we were like, no, she doesn't. You really did fuck up.
Right, this was just a mistake. Yeah.
But the fact that she comes back, like it almost you have to sort of wonder, like if you were told at the beginning this will cost you your life, you are doing something wrong, would you still do it? And I suspect the answer from Wander, if he knew, would still be yes. Like this is, this is a game that wants you to think about playing games and stories, and it's like you're the player. You did all of this. You killed all of these things. It doesn't happen without your agency. And it's like, like I will replay this game. I will happily replay this game, even knowing where it goes, because like there's something very moving about this quest.
Right. And I think I would even go a step further to what you said, which is you did make that same choice by continuing to engage with stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, no, that's the meta narrative here.
Right.
Of like you can continue to like your choices made all of this happen, and you gained the agency you took that agency to actually do this quest. So yeah, your answer as a player. Like, yeah, you are the kind of person that would do this. So.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. So, we've done it. We've gone through all the Colossi. We've talked this game up a bunch, but we haven't really talked about you guys. So tell the folks out there about your awesome show and what it's all about.
Sounds good. So I'm Professor Arya. I am joined by my co-host, Professor Funky. We have been playing TTRPGs, that's tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons. And I will, that's the cultural touchstone. But if you're cool, you know that there's a lot of other ones.
Yes.
Anyway.
And we have a lot of heavily informed opinions on that. We've been running for over 30 years collectively. And we've got a lot of thoughts. We've got a lot to talk about. We have guests on occasionally. I say occasionally because it's happened once.
You're
Thank you, Doug.
It was me.
Yeah. But yeah, both of us are working on games currently. We're our own systems that we want to do there. Funky, you've got some other published modules on itch. But yeah, come check us out. Hit us up. Engage. Interact. We love that.
Dare I say it passes the charisma check.
Oh God!
And on that bombshell.
All right, so let's wrap this up over here. So for me, I am the host of two other podcasts, Playing by Ear, which is the music show we do every other week, where my wife and brother-in-law and I, we take an album and we break it down track by track. The other show I do is called Still Muppeting. That is a Jim Henson show that we do once a month. Not sure what the one is for this month because we're recording this pretty far in advance. I think it might be Follow That Bird, the Sesame Street movie. I think we're covering that this month. If I've worked all this out correctly in my head. So if you want to listen to that show, you go to patreon.com/stillloadingpod and drop a few bucks to hear me and my buddy Josh Koval from the Still Loading podcast go through all of the works of Jim Henson. So that's that. If you want to get in touch with us, our social media portals are all in the show notes. Just type Nostalgium into the Google machine and it will help you find one of those. That's the best way to get in touch with us. I would recommend following us on Facebook, Instagram, or BlueSky because every Wednesday I'll post a clue as to what the next episode is going to be. So play along and find out what's coming up next. And of course, if you have time, do drop a review for this show, my guest's podcast, or any other podcast you listen to, because dropping those reviews helps people find out about it, helps spread the word. And of course, also helpful is literally spreading the word by telling people or posting about it and letting other people know about this cool thing you just listened to. So that'll do it for all the admin stuff. Man, thanks guys for coming on. And of course, thanks for letting me come on your show, because it's been great getting to know you guys over these 2 podcasts.
Awesome. Yeah, no, happy to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad I sought you out. And the minute I listened to your show, I was like, this is the guy. This is who we need. We need some other white guy with a podcast who's going to talk about all kinds of random nonsense.
You found the one. Yeah, the one other white guy with a podcast.
The singular, yes.
All right, so that'll do it for this one, guys. And so until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgium Arcanum.